Welcome back to the Art of Business. Today it's an amazing day. We have over here a very special person from Orchard Coaching. Helped a lot, fantastic framing in our growth, and you help, hundreds of businesses with business coaching. Charlie, how are you today?
Avi, I'm fantastic. Thank you so much for having me on. It's really such a pleasure to be here.
Amazing, amazing. Guys, I want to unpack. Many people are not using, Charlie, and you will know it, not educated to use like a business coach. But when they do use, suddenly you make like a light, come up in your brain. So tell us a little bit about like how did you get into coaching? Because you helped a lot to fantastic framing growth. But let's hear about you, about your story. How did you end up being a coach?
Thanks. So the journey as a coach kind of started when I was playing rugby, and I had these coaches, and there's a couple that were really impactful on me, and I then left rugby for a while and kind of went into business, a Bachelor of Engineering, and then kind of carried on a bit in for a while, and then I ended up in agile coaching.
Yeah,
and it was also about the time I started to coach rugby myself. I flipped from being a player to coaching, and suddenly I became aware of this. So in agile coaching, you've got structures that you create teams and how that all works. But the other key part was the coaching part, which is focusing on shifting the mindset of the individuals and how they work as a team and collaborate as a team, and how they hold each other to account and on really kind of that kind of space. And that just opened my eyes, and also started to translate some of the skills I was learning in the business world and coaching agile into my sporting, and then taking some of the sporting stuff that I was learning back in. And so I started to mix, and that kind of, I was like, whoa, hold on, this is a phenomenal space. And really I was becoming inspired by seeing the ability for me to not only coach, but to kind of influence people to shift the way they think and develop. And I was also applying a lot of the things that I was learning on myself. And so I also started to grow and shift and change the way I thought and be more open. And that kind of went through COVID. It was pretty much at the end of COVID that I then went out for myself and I call myself a business coach at the beginning, but really I'm a leadership coach.
Helping,
leadership coach in businesses. So you can refer to me business coach, but really it's the leadership space.
Course, you get the best out of a person, the people, how to speak to employees, suppliers, a problem with a client if there is any problem. But I want to give a shout out as well to Charlie. Like, when you came in, you went to Ron and Alfred, when they finish one of your courses, because we did a few with you, they said, oh my God, I actually changed the way I think, and it's amazing to see it, the shift that you did and the way you helped. And this is why I want to unpack it, because I wish I would know more in my beginning of my career that I can use coaches, but I was a bit like, hustling and working and I know what I'm doing and I can learn it very quick and I can do it. But in the end, some people can be smarter than you and they have more experience. They saw a lot more than you. You just open a business, you are 2 years, 1 year, 4 years. And someone like you have a lot of experience going every day between businesses and see it. So can you touch with me a bit of few of your programs? I know that you have a lot, so we're not going to speak about all of them, but can you speak to me a little bit about maybe, one or two of the programs that you have that are very popular?
Thank you. So there's probably the two I'll speak about are the two that you've sent people from your organization on. So the first one is, I call it the Future Leaders Program, which is for people to be able to lead themselves more effectively. So that kind of gets into self-awareness, understanding, that there's different people that kind of respond differently and like to be communicated differently, motivated by different things. So we kind of get into that space. We also get into the emotional intelligence space, which I know had some impact on a few of your team members, but also around being more structured about the way we turn up each day, and also the element of understanding that we need balance in our lives around health and fitness and having the space for the social outlets. So getting that balance a little bit more as well. So we go into all those things so that people can turn up each day, clearer, and knowing more what they want, and more motivated, because if they know what they want, and they can get those things in line with what the organization wants, then we can create credibly engaged individuals. So that's one program.
Yeah.
The other one I call Leaders to Create Future Leaders program. Now that is about leading others, and that's about focusing on individuals to have a philosophy that it's really impactful for us to develop more leaders at whatever level in the organization. And those leaders can be just leading themselves, or they could be more able to lead the suppliers or a particular store. So we need leaders at all.
Even lead clients, because you
100%.
you have lifetime client. They don't come one time.
Yeah. Yes, exactly. So that they're the two main ones that I like to talk mostly about, because that then in theory, what we want to be doing is creating an organization that is kind of self-filling in creating more leaders. And if we have that culture of developing leaders in an organization, we can almost create a bit of a conveyor belt of people. But also knowing that sometimes we might identify someone, or say they want to be a leader, maybe they're not quite ready, or maybe it's just not right for the organization as well. So it's important not to just assume that everyone is going to be right either for the organization or to be leading the spaces or the people necessarily that we may originally think about.
But basically, people can even work with you. Like if, for example, I'm just an individual, I'm a bookkeeper, accountant, artist, interior designer, single man show, basically one person, or it can be like an organization of 15 to 50 people.
Yes.
So basically you're accommodating all of those people. And I think usually as well, when you're opening a business, it's more isolating.
It is,
you're more like, just like stuck in your mind, and everything. But, one of the, chat that we had, and, that it really hit me, like when you told me, Avi, look, when people are coming to you or to one of the managers with a problem, how do you answer them? And I want to unpack it as well. But basically, if you give them the solution, they're not independent. But basically, the way you educate me and the team is basically, okay, you ask them, hey, what solution do you have? 1, 2, and 3. Okay, what would you do? Okay, I would do 2. And then it actually helps them to be more independent, to do it alone. So it's as well about like how you speak. And what many people think about coaching, it's like they're going to a coaching, the guy is going to give like a motivation talk, yay, and then you go, but it's actually theory, philosophy, strategy. So can you, unpack it? How do you create the leaders? Like what you told me about, like you need to ask them, they need to solve. Don't give them the feeling that you're solving and you're getting all the lights. You're getting all the fireworks. They need to get the fireworks.
So there's actually a fair bit of psychology in this, and a lot of that research from, a whole of the last century in particular. But we're talking about ultimately about coaching, and what we're trying to do is to help people to be able to develop their critical thinking, because what's usually happens in our careers, and most individuals out there, is that in our 20s we kind of enter an organization and we report to someone, and they tell us what to do, and we go, yes sir, 3 bags full sir, we go off and we do stuff, and we can sometimes refer to that as kind of click run. So we just click and we do, and that really works really well for us as 20-year-olds or early 20s. And that can go for a fair while. Now, the challenge is that when we then start to try to lead people later on, is that our normal reaction to click run so we keep kind of going up and what should I do here? What should I do here? What should I do here? They're not then thinking about the future or necessarily about the team. So we want them to be thinking critically, and that's where the part that you were referring to earlier really kind of comes into play, is that we want to be able to coach them to be able to critically think. So that's where, when they come to us with a problem, if we just solve for them, they become dependent on us.
And it's very easy to solve it, because it.
We know, yeah.
So it's hard to stop
and it feels good.
Yeah.
To solve it.
Because you feel like adrenaline, I saw it, cha-cha-cha, and moving.
Yeah.
And the smart way is actually to grow the new leadership. And it can be even a guy that is working with you part-time.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So I sometimes refer to it as whether you want to be Superman or Yoda.
Yeah.
So Superman, looks good in the red cape, comes in, solves the problem, and then he pisses off. And he feels good. The people feel they think, but they need Superman again a day later. They need Superman again the day later, or even an hour later. Whereas Yoda, if you remember from Star Wars, what he did was he would ask Luke Skywalker questions. And I think there's one point where Luke actually is like, oh, you're not teaching me anything. And but ultimately what he's doing is he's coaching him to be able to think and to develop his own strengths and his own skills inside himself.
I love it.
So that's the key difference we're talking about, is that we want more Luke Skywalkers and less people dependent on Superman.
Yeah.
And if we think of it that way, then it becomes a lot more powerful and understanding. And so you kind of mentioned, the questioning techniques, because also if we can think about where we want to go, sometimes people just stand there and kind of go, oh, I don't even know what I should be doing here. But if we get them to think where they want to go, then okay, well then, how do you want to get there, or how can you get there? And then we get the action at the end, and then they can create that own internal ability to be able to self check in. It's like, okay, well, what are my options, and going to go through them. So we're teaching them ultimately to do that. Yeah,
and I think in a book that I read, like Henry Ford, there was like a section. It's a bit harsh what he did, but it's basically he sent all of the managers, to a holiday, and the department that had the most problems, when the manager came back, he basically fired them. Okay, because those people did not raise future leaders or people that can solve the problems, They were dependent in Superman to solve the problems. And the department that they were functioning good, solving on the problem, he was very happy. But it's a bit harsh, but the idea is very smart. It's basically, you need to raise people, even your client, when there is a problem with a client, a problem with a supplier, you need to fix it, to educate them, to give them as well the ability that let's solve it. I need you to help me. I have like a deadline, A, B, C, D, and I need to do it. And I think it's extremely important now. Another thing that you are doing, which I love, at work, there is a lot of pressure. Deadline, problem, client, supplier. Even if I'm an individual, but sometimes there is lots of emotion in your body. A lot of it, Yes. And sometimes it can take you to the limits, And I think you are unpacking it in a very theoretical way. Can you just touch a little bit about what kind of exercise or how did you educate the people that are coming to, to your coaching?
So we're talking about emotional intelligence, here, and we touch on, or we dive into it in a lot of detail in the Future Leaders program. So that's the one that's best for emerging leaders or people that have high potential. And ultimately, what we know is that when we're in high pressure situations, is that our mind can get quite hazy, or we can allow the emotions to overtake us. And we're therefore not making clear decisions, and often we then get into that fight or flight kind of mode, or sometimes even freeze. So we want to be able to be better at controlling our emotions, and so how we do that is we want to be spending time in actually reflecting and looking in ourselves around those times when we've had high emotions, and you're probably going to have a different emotional response to me in the same situation.
Yeah.
Based on our experience and our histories. So, but we want to be able to understand what those emotions are and to reflect on them, so that the next time it'll be a little less intense.
Yeah.
Because we would have actually reflected on them. And the best way to do it is to label those emotions, and to spend time understanding what those triggers.
So you map it.
Yeah, you can map it, and the best thing is to journal them if we can go to that detail. But ultimately, labeling those emotions and journaling them and understanding the triggers for them, because again, what we're ultimately doing is creating awareness within ourselves about our emotions and what triggers us. And the more we can be aware of them, we're more able to control them, and to understand how they impact us. So we're not suggesting that we push them away or do anything. We want to actually allow the emotions to kind of come through us, but we want to be aware of them and acknowledge them. And then the next time, what we'll find is they'll be a little less. They'll create a less.
Will think about it. It will be in your awareness.
Yes, exactly right.
Yeah.
So we want to be able to use them for good, and to so we can start to actually perform even better under stressful situations and such, because we're much more aware and managing our emotions more effectively.
Yeah, I love it, because I know that in our job, like, there is pressure, deadline, and supplier that we need to make sure that we are like right on time. And after I took a few of the team to you, they changed the way they think. They are more in control, and it is important because all the time you're busy working. And you're opening a business 1 year, 2 years, you feel good, solving problems, but then you need to. I wish in my beginning of my career that I would use more people like you, Charlie, because it would give me more clarity and it would give me more strength. It would make me a stronger person. And sometimes there is people that knows a bit more. And your courses that you mentioned to me, like, take me a little bit, like, how does it look like? Is it 2 hours? Is it like half a day? Well, how does it work roughly?
So the two I've already mentioned, the Future Leaders one is a 2-day immersive, complete program, and I do a follow-up session with each participant one-on-one afterwards.
So you call after to check out and to see if they implemented the techniques and the strategy that you gave. Yeah,
because ultimately, we can try things in a program and they might work, but we get out into kind of real life as such, then things can be a bit different or a bit harder than we originally thought. So I check in one-on-one, and also there could be something else kind of going on as well there. So I might be able to then help them at that point if needed. The other program, the Leaders Create Future Leaders, is a 3-day. I call it 3-day plus because we do 3 days immersive. That's about leading others. So there's a lot of techniques and ways of thinking about leading other people. So because you're not going to have the other people with you on that program, we then check in 1 hour every 2 weeks for 6 sessions for 12 weeks. So that so the techniques around, because we get into that coaching technique you talked about, and we do role plays and we work through that in the program, but you've got to go off and you've got to do it with your team. So we get feedback on that in those hour sessions every 2 weeks around that, or around how to emotional intelligence part, or we also do we create development plans for individuals as well. How are you progressing with those plans? What's coming up? Something's going to happen. So that's how that second one.
But you're helping as well, like, individual businesses, not only like you have part of people that you help them that we come to the course. It can be like one person, one man show, accountant, bookkeeping, whatever, and you're going as well to companies which are like medium to large sizes, 15 to 50 employees.
Yes.
Yeah. Amazing.
Yeah. So the 15 to 50, it's usually
something different.
Yeah, it is something a little different. I mean, the individual smaller companies can just sign up for the program that we talked about before. That's absolutely fine, and I'll work with them as needed. But with the 15 to 50 or a little bit bigger, I'll actually kind of immerse myself into the organization, and we it's probably going to need some coaching for the executive possibly, but if they're okay, then we look at the structures. So the structures of how you bring together those managers or leaders is really important for them to be able to develop as leaders, get exposure and collaborate, and understand whether there are KPIs, and hopefully there are, and that would be something I'd work on if there wasn't, or encourage them to develop, to be able to bring those and collaborate those managers.
Yeah.
How those managers collaborate so they can see each other. And then the third part that I work on is about creating a philosophy of creating more leaders in an organization, which you can understand that program I talked about is designed to do that.
Yeah.
But in an organization, if someone comes in, but sometimes in those slightly bigger ones, you need a little more or bit more complex approach to kind of solve that.
Can you give me like ROI, return on investment, meaning maybe a story that you came into a company and what was the effect? It's not like in a 1-day effect, but you came in, you did some, a course, you educate people, then you check, and then after 6 months or 12 months, you came back. What was the result? Do you have any example that you remember? Because you have lots of people that you coach, but if there is one that you in particular that you remember.
It's one I'm particularly proud of. Is they had about 20 early 20s. I think it was 21, 22 people when I first joined them, and there was two owners who were working pretty well together, but they were the bottlenecks. They were the center of everything. So all pretty much every decision had to kind of go through them.
Yeah.
They've been a lot of Superman, and and then over. It was about 3 years. So I worked intensely for the first year.
Yeah.
I ran that program that I kind of talked about to get, but internally, the Leaders Create Future Leaders one. I've evolved and improved it since I did it in this organization, but still, they then have gone from, so over 4 years, they've gone from, I want to say 12 million and about 20 to, 6 million and about 20 to now 13 million turnover.
Amazing.
And 44
employees. Amazing.
So a significant shift, but also what's the two owners themselves now spending less time actually in the weeds. So they've now have 6
delegated more responsibility, create future leaders.
Yeah. Like so what they actually did, so in the structure piece I was talking about, is they actually then went from having kind of one, you could kind of call almost chaotic kind of organization, to actually having 6 brands within their business, and they've now got a head of each of those 6, and that's then your leadership team with the two owners then as well. So that's then the team that kind of that meets regularly and it collaborates together, and where they're tracking all their KPIs as such, and they talk about them a lot, and they hold each other accountable in each of those sessions.
And I think as well, when you're going into organization and someone is coming from outside, I think it's really healthy. If you're individual, it's only you, and your brain is speaking to you, and you, and you're very busy, and then someone else is coming and, hey, there is another way. I want you to look. Let's start to talk on it. And the more I will open to you my heart, the more I will get. But when you're going into organization and you do the magic that you're doing, it's just like an amazing thing to see as well, the impact. You said now from 6 million to 13 million, it's a very good way. But yes, it works, and this is what I love. What is as well another common bottleneck you see in companies that you are going? Because bottleneck is the pain point of businesses, you know?
Yeah. So because I work with the people side of the organization, it's ultimately people, and ultimately it's usually their ego, which is an interesting phrase in itself, but it's what people understand. So we talked about Superman earlier necessarily, and ultimately it's that ego of feeling really good about being the go-to person. Feeling really, really good of having people ask you to make the decisions. Feeling good to have the power of me to say yes or no to something, or to prove this or prove that. But what happens is that then becomes this bottleneck in the organization, and really becomes a thing that slows down the ability to move. Now, we shouldn't say can't. If we take away that totally, then it can cause chaos. So we're not suggesting necessarily that you kind of go from, you just take the person out. But it's allowing that person to understand that they actually have become a bottleneck, and they're actually not only inhibiting the performance, but they're inhibiting the ability for the others to grow, because if people grow and they develop, they're engaged and they want to be there, and they are
it's good for the business, they're happy.
Yes, and they're going to bring, if you allow them to, they're going to bring other ideas, they're going to bring other ways of thinking. And you're then going to create this, what I call positive conflict in an organization, if you create the safe enough space for them to do that. But you need to then move from being the bottleneck, whether it is the owner or maybe there's a key person that necessarily has felt this, has really felt good about being that go-to person, to get them to open up and then to see how the team can grow and develop and such. And you can create spaces, more capacity by creating these spaces, open spaces.
And I think as well, it's very addictive, when you're a leader and you're actually helping people below, I don't want to say below you, but in your team.
Yeah.
And then you can see them develop, it's it basically gives you a good feeling. And I think you probably feel it every day. You know?
That is absolutely what motivates me the most, and why I've gone into the space, and why I love it, because of that exact feeling.
Yeah.
And you know, the pride that I have when you say some things that you said to me already just today here, let alone what you said outside of here. That's what motivates me, is that I've had a tangible impact on your business just by bringing in some concepts or some things, or challenging the way some people think. And really that's the key thing, that you know, and not just about me. I want others to be able to take that and use that motivation of that feeling you just mentioned, and how can we translate through the whole that of fantastic framing, so that every store, every space necessarily is wanting others to grow and develop, and the acceleration speed that you can go will be, I think, will be phenomenal.
Yeah, amazing. And I think it's a good thing to make sure your team feel fulfilled, feel challenged. You know, like they are human beings. They want as well. They want as well to grow. They are like trees.
Yes.
You know, they are like trees.
Yep.
You need to, and the way I see, you know, when I'm using someone like you, Charlie, in Fantastic Framing, I see you as, you know, putting water into the tree and making my tree a bit taller and stronger with big roots, you know, like, explain me as well the name of your company.
Well, I was just going to say that you've just explained the name of why it's called Orchard Coaching, because that's it. So we want to create that ongoing, you know, like an orchard of oranges, how I think about it. And, you know, you want the fruit to develop and to be healthy, and to then fall to the ground to create more seeds, to then create more trees, to create more fruit, and to create the sustainable. So that is absolutely the name, and that you've just explained it.
Because this is what I felt, you know, like if you tell me what I felt after using using service of coach like you, is basically you let the team, you know, think in a more healthy way. And you made them, oh my God, Avi, like, you know, like it was very good. Now I'm thinking differently, you know, like now I'm thinking differently. And then you go and check with them. And sometimes, you know, when it comes as well from outside, or when you're doing this one-to-one and you are, hey, Avi, don't say the answer. Don't give them the solution.
resist it.
And sometimes it's hard, man. It's hard.
Yes.
It's hard. Like you want to tell, just hold on. What kind of a solution do you have? So I think those things of to use coaching, it is important. And many people, I do say that I hear people using, but I wish it would be more, there would be more awareness about it. And I think it can help to the growth of the business and the growth of the person. It's not everything is business, and not everything is money. You know, it's how you develop as well as people.
Yes. And sometimes we forget that we are all people, and really, so the philosophy of coaching the whole person, I bring to all my work as well. And so we do look at the whole person, in both programs, and also when I'm coaching, which is why I refer to psychologists, and I refer, you know, where I need to, if there are people that might need some slightly different skills, that then I can provide as well. So there's only a limit that I go to.
Yeah, definitely. But the impact is there. And what I love about what coaches are doing, you and other ones, is that you follow up, you check, and I think it's an amazing thing. You're a guy that's reading shit loads of books. Yeah. But can you share with me, you know, I will share with you one after you say,
cool.
But one that you really hits you. Yeah.
Cool. So the one I'm reading at the moment is 10x is easier than 2x by Dan Sullivan. So it's about the mindset, mostly about the mindset that we often bring to things, is that we sometimes think if we're just going to grow the business from, you know, 1 million to 2 million over the next few years, that we'll tweak here and we'll tweak there, and we don't necessarily bring, you know, that more macro thinking, or challenge ourselves about, well, what is the real element that we actually have to shift in our business. So whereas if we think of it from we want to go 10x in 1 year or 2 years,
it's a big change.
It's a huge change, and it means that we have to focus in on that 20% of which is not that whole 100%. So it talks about if we only focus on the small bits of that, we're only going to be tweaking around the edges. Whereas if we actually think about what is the 20% of the 100% I'm doing now, and go deep into that, and particularly become aware of what our unique ability is, as not just as a human, but as an organization. Let's get deep into that, and having the courage to actually push away all that noise and distraction, that the 80% that's not really working for us.
Yeah.
Which could mean letting go of clients. It could mean letting go of a space that you kind of might have been known for before. So it's also in really encouraging you to be courageous in the way that you think.
Yeah, yeah.
So that's and I love the book mostly because it's about shifting our mindset.
Yeah, and the way you do, if they go to the course, you give them as well a theory and things, and it's basically changing the mindset, and it's good. And if you're doing the same day every day, the same thing will not be changed, you know. So sometimes it's good to use someone from outside to come. I even told you a story that I used like a COO, and it was a big change on my...
Sounds like she's been amazing.
Yeah, and she did a big change, and she came for, 2-3 months, and then bang, big change in the company, you know. So definitely, I think it's a good... My good book that I read, which is, I think, speaking in your course as well about the emotional, it's called Critical Conversation. You know, when conversation are very heated, you know, and it can be with a supplier, with, big problem that have been with an employee. So again, it's speaking about how to control your emotion and how to create like a safe environment, even though it's a critical thing, but it's as well speaking about a relationship. My relationship, by the way, is good. I'm just saying it's there if you need it. But it's basically like the point is that you have to make sure that there is a safe environment, and even though, and you are actually speaking about it, even though it's critical, you can still speak about it. But if you stay calm and you can try to control your emotions, it's really, really good. Other ways that I want to share with you, what other tips do you have for building? I'm a one person. I have maybe one guy part-time, another person, one like part-time. What other tips and tricks you have to create future leaders in your organization? Because business will grow. I started alone, door to door, and today it's much a bigger organization. But what is your tips? Share with us.
I think there's a couple of things. Probably where I'd start is that we often don't, and you can almost link it back to the 10x is easier than 2x concept, is that we sometimes look too short term, and we often don't kind of look really what we want, as opposed to what we need. So if we want to, we can motivate ourselves by actually being clear on what we want and why you want to get there. So if we're not spending time reflecting on that. So your question was around how to motivate necessarily someone else in a small business. It's spending time with that other person and yourself, but if we're talking about that other person, around what actually are, I call them hopes and dreams. What are your hopes and dreams? What do you actually, what do you truly want to do in your life? And understanding that. Now, they may just share it, and then that's awesome, because then you're like, okay, well, how can I assist them to achieve some of those hopes and dreams? Because they're going to be more motivated, they're going to be more engaged, and you're probably going to find them more in flow if you're able to assist them to achieve their hopes and dreams. You might not be able to do the whole lot, but you can do. Or the flip side is if they actually haven't considered it, how impactful is it for them to start to actually spend that time thinking about it? So we can then motivate them to then spend time in their own mind of, well, actually, what do I want? And maybe they don't know, but that's fine at the beginning. They're then thinking about it. So if we can then spend time, that also creates connection, deeper connections between that
It's not
leader.
just like work. It's just like coming to work and that's it. You speak to them about life.
Yes.
About future.
Yeah. And it's having the courage to also possibly lead or be vulnerable in front of that person about talking about your hopes and dreams. Yeah. And maybe, what's motivating you to be in this space, or to be that artist that's kind of growing in a particular area. What do you want to do? Because it might not be just to do the same type of art for forever. It might be, it could be anything, whether it is about family or about giving back or about, absolutely anything. So it's having those conversations. It's probably one of the key things. When you're starting to,
I love it.
to do that. And the other one, which might sound so simple, but we often it's a skill that we don't do enough of, and I find it really impactful with people is active listening. So we often don't listen to the depth that that really for us to understand truly what the other person is trying to say to us, because often we can we sometimes say things that we want the other person to hear, as opposed to actually what we truly are saying. And if we can have active listening, which includes curiosity, which includes that connection, it includes being able to read the body language. It includes about creating a rapport with people in a conversation. It allows us to really understand what's actually kind of going on there. So if you could bring active listening in and asking the question about hopes and dreams, then you even get even deeper connections as well. So there's just a couple of things.
I love it. I love it because you want to, even when you meet someone, you don't want to speak only about you. You want to hear about them, their story, their life, their journey, their ups, their lows, and I love it as well that you're saying share as well your ones.
Yeah.
Just to have this connection. And I think I respect it, because the minute, the people are more connected, they see as well your strengths and your weakness, and they know it, and everybody has like strengths and weakness, and we can speak about it, and let's fit you in where you're strong.
Mm-hmm.
And if you don't like it, just someone else will do it.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think to listen as well, in order to convince, you need to listen.
Yes. That's if you want to influencing. Then you've got to be able to listen to know whether they're pain points, obstacles, to then spend time. Yes.
Exactly. Even in sales, when a client comes into the store, you can't speak. You have to shut up and let them talk. Hey, what is in your mind? What do you want to do? Like, okay, I can recommend you maybe this and this, but maybe let's go more your way because you wanted more color over it. So you have to listen in order to convince, even though in your mind you're thinking, something else, Other thing as well, like why do you think, people sometimes, I wish, let's speak to those people that I was like one of them, okay, that, why do I need a coach? And I know everything. I'm a business I'm doing, man, I'm already 4 years, it's growing. Why do I need you?
So, when we do well at the beginning, what happens is that we learn and we grow really, really quickly, but we grow in the spaces that we're spending our time and focus in. So where, if it is framing an art, then, probably understanding more about the process of doing that and the cutting of the frames and which ones work here and et cetera. Now, that's all great, but then there's so much else that is needed in the business. And also what we're doing is probably focusing in almost exclusively because that's where we're spending our time. Now, what we're sometimes not doing enough of is actually looking upwards. So when I say upwards, I mean time horizons into the future, or necessarily kind of looking at, well, maybe what are the trends in the industry, or kind of what's kind of going on in the at the government level for changing maybe things that might impact us, whether it's from tax or regulation perspective. If we're not doing that, then we may not see something coming. So we're kind of more in that reactionary space. What we want to be doing is actually is spending enough time looking up and also working on that business. So if we're not very good with finances as such, or we're not very good in kind of managing a kind of a whole team, we then need to get to perspectives. And that's really where a coach comes in, is to get people to be looking at from different angles, different time horizons, different heights, more macro, and even sometimes even more micro. There are some people that just like to work at the big picture and don't like to get into the detail. Well, sometimes you do. So it's then getting those perspectives, and what a coach does is help. Well, first he kind of checks, well, what are the strengths of the way some people think, and then to just make them more aware of some spaces that maybe they're not as aware. And then when they respond and you can see that we need to go in a certain direction, then that's the direction we kind of go.
Yeah, and definitely when I think there is changes in your business, even when you start very, very small, like things are changing fast, and it's like sometimes it's good to stop. Stop for 1 or 2 days.
Yes.
Nothing will happen to the business, and then just reflect, like hear as well, experience as well of other people which are much more experienced than you, like all the time you can do it yourself, but it will take you longer. Why? Why do you slow down? So yes, invest in yourself. Invest in coaches, invest reading, not all the time listening to music, listen to a podcast. I'm listening or a podcast now or a book about networking, one of the biggest network in the States,
And you're a very good networker.
Yeah, and I want to hear more. I want to learn more. I want to learn more, and never eat alone. This is the name of the book. Like it's, and I actually like the idea, never eat alone. You eat lunch. No, go and eat with someone. Go and eat with someone. This is it's much more in depth with it. But long story short, I think you need to stop. And after you're working like for 3 years or 4 years, there is maybe a bit of dust on your business. And when you go to a coach, the coach will clean this dust, will wash it, it will smell very good, and you can run even more. And I think the part of the growth as well of Fantastic Framing, Charlie, you did an amazing job with, few people in our company, and I will keep even using it, because it is helping a lot and it is making changes. But my message to the listeners is, yes, I want to bring the awareness of people like Charlie. If you're in your own community and you hear about a coach or you want to introduce to Charlie, you can have as well all the information in our podcast, but you need to be aware things like this are existing. I wish I would know it before. Now I know it. Now I'm addicted to you. But I think it is like, I just want to give the motivation to people, because sometimes people are not using it. And I think sometimes I even saw people using you. He's a mobile mechanic. One guy. There was one guy, he's like a IT support. One guy, yeah?
Yep.
Like, what did you work with them? Can I just ask you, one-man show? What did you focus with them when you work with a one-man show?
So at least with the mechanic, he had actually bought another business.
Yeah. Okay. Wow.
So he'd bought another business, and he was unsure about how to lead people. Is probably the phrase. So that's where we spend a lot of time in developing his awareness of how to necessarily work with people that he wasn't able to connect with, as because he was used to working by himself.
Yeah.
So that's the space we worked in. With the IT guy, it was a lot about leading self.
Leading self, it's a big one.
It is a big one, and we all need it. And I continue to learn how to lead myself, and that's why I love also taking the program, because I'll just get a little bit of an insight from some of the people in both programs. Like, okay, I may know of it all, but there's some spaces that I need to spend more time again. So it's you're continually learning every single time that you turn up every day, and that's the thing. That's what I also talk a lot about what leadership is. Leadership to me, maybe I should have said this right at the beginning, but leadership to me is creating our world. Now, the creation piece and the world is such that we define as our world, which is fantastic framing. But there's also your family, and there's also your wider community that you talk of a bit as well. And there's probably other spaces as well that you're leading. But the word create, in the future, it's about where do you want to take it and being proactive around that. But the other thing about leadership is that we need to do it together. We've got to do it with other people. We just have to do it with other people. And how do we do that in a way that that inspires and brings them along? And we need to do it every day.
Yeah.
And so both those people together and every day can really be challenging for many people. And how do we necessarily realign? How do we recheck in? How do we stop? Which you talked about. So that's really my starting point for
and even if you're working alone, all the team around you, this is your company, your supplier, your family is helping you.
Yes, exactly.
Your friends sometimes are helping you, and you need to know. So the inner self leadership, I think it's a big one to work on yourself. And when people are using coaches like you, Charlie, you just like you suddenly the light is on. Nobody spoke about it, and sometimes you challenge people in a very nice way. Just like, okay, if this happens, what do you do? And then you basically break it down from them. But the idea is as well that it's not like some kind of they come with a theory. You break it down to them. You're doing case study. You're doing exercise. And what I love about what you and other coaches, you check after. Yes. And this is what I love about it. But and I think it's an amazing thing. What other tips do you have to tell to those people that are in the beginning of the journey, and people even that are already established? What is your takeaway from you?
I think the number one thing is to be open. Is to be to have a curious mind. There's slightly different things, but they're quite interrelated. So being open to, when you have a conversation with anyone, just having that open mind rather than necessarily allowing our assumptions or our I call them limiting beliefs. But beliefs, there could be any of them. They might be limiting, they might be not limiting. But to check those beliefs and not necessarily just assume that they're right. So that's the openness part, is that if the more open we can be to thoughts or ideas, the faster we'll develop and grow, not only ourselves, but the world that we're leading, which could include in business. That's one. And then that was openness, and there was the other one. What?
No, but what I do resonate with it, okay. What I am resonating with it is that, you can't judge someone, when you're in a conversation, it hit me, what you said. If someone is telling you a story and it's not in your beliefs, you need to be as well open to it. And I think what you're all the time telling me, that some people come to you that they're a bit close and ego is very high. And you're telling me the more people talk to me, the more they get.
Yes.
In any course, yes. Especially as well as yours. And I think I had with you as well a few discussion about it, that few of the team have been more open and they basically got better result, and actually saw it, by heart. And there have been a few people that have been basically closed, that doesn't want to open. So, I know everything, but you tell me, Avi, it took maybe 2 hours to warm up, and then they start to open. Because I think many people sometimes, you coming, you're a little bit skeptic, totally. Why, I'll give you something out of the blue, and my wife, I think 4 years ago, let's go to Lion King, she said, Jessica, come on, you take me to show, why, no, they need to come, I said, let's come. I came over there, man, shivers. I was fantastic. Far out, man, whoa. And I think as well, when I used you, I had, wow, it's actually, it made a change, it made a change. So be open, you go get help as coaching, and, for me, very important to bring up the awareness, there is problem you can sharpen the knife. It's all about what you're all the time keeping saying is be open-minded and learn more. And I have this value in my head. I want to learn, when you speak, I close my mouth, I want to hear more, maybe there is a new story, but I want to say, thank you so much, for coming here.
My pleasure. It's been an absolute pleasure. I've loved the conversation, and loved even just getting to know you even better, even though I know you pretty well, even just getting to know you even better has been a real privilege. So
amazing. And if people want to use you, how do they approach you? LinkedIn, Instagram, website? Well, how do we contact you?
So LinkedIn or my website is probably the easiest way. So LinkedIn, Charlie Winn, or the website's orchardcoaching.com.au. So either of those ways you can get hold of me. And there's we can chat and kind of see how I could be of use, or maybe they can be used to me as well.
Amazing. Thank you so much. It was amazing having you guys. Hope you enjoyed it. Have a good one, and we will see you soon. All the best.